Welcome to Soft Serve, your place to soften into your feminine goodness and show up the way your soul came to serve. I am Mads Williams, and I help women rediscover self-pleasure, self-love, and self-trust. I've always loved this idea about creativity that Elizabeth Gilbert speaks of, which is the idea that the muse visits you, that ideas come and sit on your shoulder and whisper in your ear, and almost like if we're not to grab them, they could pass through the ether and move on to the next person. Really connecting creativity to this idea of source or spirit or magic or the universe or something outside of ourselves. And we open up our channel and we receive it, we catch it, and we action it and turn it into a reality. I think when we start dancing with creativity like that, one, it helps with things like writer's block or self-judgment or the humanness that can get in the way of actually creating magical things. But also because of that, the humanness that's celebrating your ego or putting yourself on a pedestal. If you think about your work and your devotion as becoming someone who's incredibly clear or clean and turning off the noise so that you can actually hear the muse, then you become entwined in this dance of spirituality and creativity every day. So when I start playing with sex to heighten this, to heighten my ability to clear my vessel or receive, it's so fucking cool. It's really potent and it's really powerful. And actually, spirituality through sexuality is what drew me to going down the rabbit hole and learning all about female anatomy and pleasure and sexuality in the first place. It was really craving a depth with my practice, my spirituality. And when I think about it, my spirituality is always, how do I become the most me? How do I become the most on mission? How do I show up and serve the best I can? I feel like we get one lifetime in this body, so why not be all that we can be? So finding sexual practices that could amplify this was so instrumental in me getting more and more on mission, getting more and more into aligned work. So the thing that's so exciting about when you are actually using the full range of your sexual energy, when you're actually learning exercises and breathing techniques and discovery of anatomy that we teach in soft serve in this portal for women to really awaken their yoni and really awaken their connection to source, to bring it back through your body and charge yourself up like a battery, like a creative lifeline, and not just dumping or releasing all of that sexual goodness out into the world. What happens is you find yourself operating at a really beautiful baseline of creative channel. It's like anything where you have to work really hard to begin versus when you actually just have momentum and it continues. So naturally, you already exist at a higher level of creativity and ideas and juiciness and libido and flirtation with life. But once you have this up your sleeve, once you have a rich practice that you know you can rely on, you can reverse engineer. You can go to your pleasure when you are needing to plonk yourself down and get work done, when you are wanting to promote your business and are looking for creative ideas, when you know you're going to record a podcast or send an important email or deliver a presentation that day. You can spend quality time with yourself, getting out of your head and moving into this deep sensual energy, this deep place of connection to self, connection to source, where you come out almost more open to what is actually needed to come through you. I have this practice when I'm working with clients or holding sessions where I'll ask my humanness to step out of the way. It's my way of inviting this open channel to connect into source. And that is the best way I can describe sexual energy, being able to fuse up whatever your output is in the world. It helps switch off the analytical brain and opens up the pure inspiration and the pure play and the pure creativity and the pure originality, or the pure expression of you, the authentic version of you. I find that so many of us are looking for the correct way, or I should do it like this, or if I do that, I'll get this. And so much of that is, again, just the brain trying to be a human calculator, trying to reverse engineer what it thinks it's going to get us, trying to keep us safe or get that end goal. Whereas when we are actually clearing the way for our sexual energy to connect us with an original thought, with a pure seed of inspiration, we might end up somewhere completely unexpected. We might end up actually allowing ourselves to be on the path that is ours and to have some fucking fun. It's like when we see children and they're not trying to be Picasso. They are just letting themselves express what wants to come out on the page. My favorite thing ever is to see a little kid just randomly dancing in the middle of the street, or when they're waiting for their parents to pick up something at the supermarket. It's that uninhibited expression of self, that using your sexual energy before sitting down or standing up or preparing to do whatever it is that you're intending to do connects you to this kind of raw inner freak, I guess. It's like letting that freak flag fly from a really uninhibited place. The other thing that's really beautiful about extended pleasure dates, so sometimes if I am with myself for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, I like to have my laptop present, mainly for my playlist, but also because ideas will literally drop in. I have known to pause my practice to write an essay or a newsletter or a poem. A lot of the work we do in soft serve is also to access parts of the body that store memory, to release stories that live in ourselves, to release trauma, to release sadness. So there can also be times where I'm tapping into a specific experience that I'm releasing, whether that be through squirting or through pleasure or through breath and expression. Maybe it's sound, maybe it's movement. And I'm really focused on a particular theme, just like the poets and the songwriters have written about their experience to move things through. You can use your body as a vessel for moving stories or experiences or pain or emotion through your body as well, which also helps our creativity. It also helps us be clear because we're not stuck in the past and we're not repeating something that is no longer ours to hold. There's a real freedom that comes from thinking of our pleasure as a way of process. And as an art form, thinking of ourselves as art is a huge part of the work that I do, whether that's how we speak to ourselves in the mirror, how we take photographs of ourselves, how we dress, how we move, how we walk, what our posture's like, how we hold ourselves. Thinking of ourselves as the muse, thinking of ourselves as art means that we're also not separating ourselves from creativity. We're acknowledging that we are creativity, that we are creative. Even the idea of sex is, that children, that we were born from this act, that this is life force, that this is a creative gift to the world. That is what we're made of. That is what we're working with. That's what we're prioritizing and celebrating in our life. So much of sex has been subjected to jokes or irreverence or performance or trauma or fear. And so there's such beauty in restoring it to this very innocent and neutral act, just in the way that you might do morning pages, or you might be really practiced at journaling, knowing that that relieves a lot of gunk that's in the brain, relieves a lot of worry, so that you can really shut that narrative down and actually receive what's meant for you, receive ideas, That is what your sexual practice can do. When working with your body and your pleasure and your sexual energy becomes your new normal, you really start thinking of it in the way that you might think about going for a walk to clear your head, or if you're feeling anxious, or if you're feeling nervous. There becomes different levels of arousal or engagement. I think about my self pleasure for manifestation. I think about times when my self pleasure is for release and process. I think about times when my self pleasure is for pure pleasure. I think about times when my self pleasure is for meditation. I think about times when my self pleasure is for healing. There are so many different angles that I can tap into this work to activate in myself. And so when you start thinking of the diversity available to you, this rich palette that is there, you're never bored. There's always more depth to get to or different layers to peel off. But you can be really intentional about what you are hoping to achieve with your time. What is it that you're bringing forth? What is it that you're wanting to receive? How much time are you putting aside to access those things? So, for example, if I am wanting to really access something deep, something emotional, if I'm wanting to do some healing work, either I might have an idea that something's there, so I'll go looking for it, or I will put aside an elongated amount of time knowing that I'm literally a detective and what I find is what I will work with. Other times, like working with creating soft serve or recording podcasts, I'll know I want at least 30 minutes with myself so that I've really washed away the day, cleared my channel, opened up my third eye, opened up my crown to receiving the messages that are supposed to come through for this particular episode, or the particular module I was filming, or the particular essay or newsletter I was writing. Then there'll be times where actually it's less about what creativity is coming through me, but I really want to tap into myself as the muse, as the sensual goddess. So that will be much more about no time frame, nowhere to be, the most sensual, or the music that I'm feeling particularly turned on by that day. And that can vary so much. That's when I'm really getting my mirror out and when I'm dancing as my foreplay and I've got my oil and I am thinking of that as something that sustains my sensuality throughout the day, throughout the week. So, this kind of variety can also really help. It's knowing that not every single time you're with yourself, it has to be hours and hours and hours, but also in the way that we might have just dumped our pleasure in a 5-minute hit and run. When we know how to activate our sexual energy and work with it, those 5 minutes become life giving and really energy building rather than depleting. So, creative energy is sacral energy, and sacral energy is life force sexual energy. So, that can also be a really beautiful way to start thinking of how the two interact with each other. I have found that because my sexual practice is such a priority, often that's where I go first. So, I will tend to my sexual practices, and that will feed my creativity. But if you're someone who is feeling like your libido is really low, that you haven't been turned on for a long time, that actually it's a real stretch to get into that idea of receiving that idea of seeing yourself as the muse or seeing yourself as the sensual embodiment of your femininity, then I would recommend that you actually start with your creativity. And often your creativity or a really productive day, a really satisfying day, often that can be the thing that really turns you on, that makes you feel like that life force is alive and well, is really kicking. So, whichever is your access point, start there. Prioritize that and watch as it fills up your cup for the other. I think what's interesting about sex is that we know there's the potential for climax. We know there's the potential for great pleasure at the end. So we come at it with this idea of goal, of outcome, of prioritizing or staring at the finish line, in the same way that a lot of our work has become about deadlines or finished result. Whereas reframing creativity as play, as tending to the little kid in us who is desperate to express and desperate to have fun, it's really the same approach with sex. So, where can we start allowing ourselves to actually enjoy the process? Where can we shift our focus to the play rather than what the end result is? I think about this time that I've spoken about many a time when I was living in Tokyo and I loved it, but was still being a total martyr about the situation. And I had one phone call with my mum, and she asked me if I thought I would ever be happy because I'd obviously spent the whole conversation complaining. And in that moment, it was genuinely pivotal because I knew that I would and that there was something greater, and that the reason I was so unhappy was because I hadn't tapped into that feeling yet. And I set myself on this mission to discover how to live in a way where I could access that on the daily. And so that's what shifting from outcome based or this one thing is going to make me so happy. I'll be happy when all of those frameworks shortchange us from receiving the joy that's available in our day to day. So when we're thinking about our creative practices, our sexual practices, and just genuinely our gratitude for being alive, where can we really start enjoying the small daily devotion of showing up to the things that we love that aren't completely sensible or don't make sense for a big status driven job title? The kid in us wants to jump in puddles or go swimming or dance naked with friends or howl at the moon. The kid in us wants to be set free. So much of this practice has allowed me to step into a confidence and remove barriers that were blocking me from a level of expression and a level of freedom. The more I move into a free version of me, an express version of me, the more joy I have in my day to day, because the less fractured I am as a soul, the less distorted me as a soul and me as a personality and my expressions are, the more symbiotic we are, the more I'm walking around as a fully expressed, authentic, truthful representation of what my soul came to do and be and share in this world. So thinking about creativity, sexual energy as really being able to wipe the noise out and connect to the part of you that has your unique expression or stamp to put on the world. That's what I really care about. That's what Soft Serve is here to do. It's here to reestablish self-love, self-trust through self-pleasure so that we can actually enjoy our lives, so we can actually walk around being able to switch off our brain and move from this intuitive soul-led place that knows what's up, that knows the greater plan, or with perhaps not knows, but at least is connected and trusting enough to be guided by it. So in short, the more we prioritize pleasure in a way that actually clears our vessel, the more we are open to receiving the messages, the wisdom, the guidance, and the action steps that were given uniquely to us so that we can change the world, so that we can step into a version of self that we only dream of being. And the coolest thing about it is you don't need to know what that looks like. It never would have occurred to me in a million years that I would be sitting here recording this podcast talking about female sexual energy. I think it's pretty badass. It's a really fucking cool job, but it surprises me every day. Living in Cornwall surprises me every day. That is the luxury of being connected to your intuition, your creativity, and your sexuality, that you get to go on the ride. It's like the universe is your great lover and they're fucking the shit out of you and you are receiving and being taken to places that you never dreamed of. If you can do the work to open and receive what the greater plan is, what the message is, what the creativity trying to come through you is, you have no idea what magic is waiting for you. So, as always, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed. We'll be starting the summer portal of Soft Serve on the 14th of June. I would so love to have you there if you're getting that gorgeous tingle in your yoni or feeling alive or even feeling resistance or nervous. That can often be something that's saying, hey, look here, there might be something for you. So if you have any questions, slide into the DMs as always. And I can't wait till next week. Talk to you then.